Hey everyone, welcome back to Speak Up. I'm Ryan, and I'm so happy to have you with us today. Whether you're a long-time listener or just joining us for the first time, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. To those of you who have been with us from the beginning, your support means the world. And for the new listeners, thank you for being here, and I promise we'll make your time with us absolutely worthwhile today. If you're looking to improve your English, you've come to the right place. We've got something exciting planned for you in this episode, so let's get straight to it.
That's right. Today we're talking about something that every English learner can relate to: remembering vocabulary. We all know the struggle of learning new words, feeling great about it, and then, just a few days later, forgetting them. It's frustrating, isn't it? So, today we're going to share 3 simple tricks that will help you remember English vocabulary forever. Whether you're a beginner or someone who's been studying for years, these tricks will help you expand your vocabulary and retain it long-term. You'll never have to worry about forgetting words again. And don't worry, it's not about memorization in a boring way. These methods are fun, effective, and scientifically backed.
You know, I've been there too. You spend hours learning new words, maybe using a list or an app. But when it comes time to speak, those words are nowhere to be found. It's like they slip away from your memory. And the worst part is, you can feel like it's your fault, right? But actually, the problem isn't with you. It's with the method you're using to learn. And that's exactly what we'll fix today. We're going to show you how to remember words for the long term and how to avoid the mistakes that make you forget them. Stick with us, and by the end of this episode, you'll have a fresh, new approach that works for you. Whether you're preparing for your next English exam, improving fluency, or just trying to sound more natural when speaking.
Absolutely. It's time to throw away those old techniques that never worked. And instead, let's focus on strategies that actually stick. By the end of this episode, you'll be able to memorize vocabulary faster. And more importantly, you'll keep those words in your mind for years to come. This is going to be a game changer for your English learning journey. So, let's dive in and explore the first trick to help you remember words forever. Trust me, this one is a game changer.
Let's start with the first trick, something that can completely change the way you learn new English words. It's called the power of visual memory. You see, our brains are naturally designed to remember pictures better than words. That's why you can recognize a familiar face even after years, but struggle to remember a person's name. So, instead of just reading a new word and hoping you'll remember it, try associating it with a mental image. For example, if you're learning the word gigantic, imagine a huge elephant towering over a city. That picture sticks in your brain much longer than just reading the definition. And guess what? This is scientifically proven. Studies show that we retain information much better when it's linked to an image. That's why this technique is so powerful.
Exactly. And to take this a step further, you can use flashcards with pictures instead of translations. This way, your brain directly connects the word to an image, rather than translating it from your native language. For example, if you're learning the word ocean, instead of writing its translation, just put a beautiful image of the sea on your flashcard. This makes learning more natural and automatic. And if you don't want to make physical flashcards, don't worry. There are some great apps that use this method, like Anki and Quizlet. These apps help you create and review digital flashcards with images, making vocabulary learning faster and more effective. So, if you want to learn English at home in a fun way, definitely try them out.
That's a great point, Priya. I've personally used Anki before, and it makes such a difference. Instead of forcing yourself to memorize a word, you actually start seeing it in your mind, and that's what helps it stay in your memory. Plus, this technique isn't just for beginners. It works for everyone. Whether you're learning basic words or advanced English vocabulary for professionals. And here's another powerful tip. When you see a new word in a book or on a website, take a second to imagine a vivid picture related to it. The stronger the image, the better you'll remember the word. The best part? This technique also helps you think in English instead of translating in your head.
Absolutely. So, if you've been struggling with forgetting words, give this a try today. Instead of just reading a new word, visualize it. Create mental images, use flashcards with pictures, and try apps like Quizlet and Anki to practice daily. This method will boost your vocabulary and help you speak English confidently. And now that we've covered the first trick, let's move on to the second one, which will make remembering words even easier.
All right, now that we've learned about visual memory, let's move on to trick number 2. And trust me, this one is a game changer. The biggest reason people forget words is simple. They never use them. Think about it. If you don't use a word in your daily conversations, it just fades from your memory. The more you use a word, the stronger it stays in your mind. It's like working out. If you don't exercise a muscle, it gets weak. But if you keep using it, it gets stronger. The same thing happens with vocabulary. So, if you want to remember words forever, you need to use them in real life. The best way? Start replacing simple words with stronger ones. For example, instead of saying very big, say enormous. Instead of every tired, say exhausted. This small habit will boost your vocabulary without extra effort.
That's so true, Ryan. And I know some of you might be thinking, but I don't have anyone to practice with. Well, guess what? You don't need a partner to practice speaking. You can still use this trick even when you're alone. One of the best techniques for this is called the shadowing technique. It's super simple. You just listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say. For example, play an English podcast or watch a video. And as soon as the speaker says a sentence, repeat it immediately with the same pronunciation and tone. This method helps you get comfortable using new words and improves your fluency. The more you practice, the more naturally these words will come to you in daily conversations. And the best part? You can do this anytime, while walking, cooking, or even getting ready in the morning.
Absolutely. And here's another simple yet powerful trick. Talk to yourself in English. Seriously, it works. For example, when you're looking at your room, describe what you see using new vocabulary. Instead of saying, "My bed is big," say, "My bed is enormous and super comfortable." Instead of "I'm hungry," say, "I'm starving." By making this a daily habit, you'll start thinking in English naturally instead of translating from your native language. Also, if you want to practice even more, try recording yourself speaking and then listening back. It helps you catch mistakes and improve pronunciation. These small steps will make a huge difference in your confidence.
Exactly. So, if you want to speak English confidently, you need to use new words every day. Don't just learn them, speak them, write them, and repeat them. Whether you're using the shadowing technique, practicing alone, or replacing simple words with better ones, consistency is key. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice, the more natural your English will sound. So, now that we've covered the second trick, let's move on to trick number 3, which will make remembering words even easier.
All right, now it's time for trick number 3, and honestly, this one is my personal favorite. Have you ever noticed that you can remember certain moments from years ago in vivid detail? Maybe it was the time you had an embarrassing moment in school, or when you heard a joke that made you laugh uncontrollably. Why do you remember these moments so clearly? Because they were emotionally powerful. And guess what? You can use the same technique to remember English words forever. When you connect a word to a strong emotion or a personal story, your brain holds on to it like a treasure. For example, if you learn the word hilarious, don't just memorize it. Think of the funniest joke you've ever heard. That way, every time you hear or use hilarious, you'll automatically recall that funny memory. This makes learning new vocabulary natural and unforgettable.
That's such a great point, Ryan. And the best part? You don't have to wait for a funny or emotional moment to happen. You can create your own stories to remember words. Let's say you just learned the word thrilled, which means extremely happy. Instead of just memorizing the meaning, imagine this. You won a huge lottery and you're jumping with excitement because you're thrilled. Now, the next time you hear the word thrilled, your brain will instantly recall this exciting image. This is actually called the storytelling technique, and it's used by some of the best English learners in the world. You can even practice this by watching movies or reading books in English. When you hear a new word, connect it to a scene that made you feel happy, sad, excited, or even scared. It's a simple trick, but it works wonders.
Absolutely. And here's another powerful habit to boost your vocabulary: writing a daily journal. Trust me, this is one of the best ways to improve your memory and fluency. Every day, take just 5 minutes to write about your day, but use the new words you've learned. For example, instead of writing, "I was happy today," write, "I was thrilled when I got a compliment at work." Instead of "the food was good," write, "the meal was delicious and satisfying." By writing your thoughts with new vocabulary, you're training your brain to use those words naturally. And the more you do this, the more they'll stick with you in real-life conversations. Plus, this habit improves your writing skills, making it a win-win.
Exactly, Ryan. If you really want to remember English words forever, start connecting them to emotions, personal stories, and real-life situations. Whether it's imagining a funny scene, creating a short story, or writing in a journal, the more meaning you attach to a word, the easier it becomes to remember. And the best part? This technique also helps you think in English naturally without translating in your head. So, if you haven't tried this before, start today. Pick a new word, attach a memory or a feeling to it, and see how easily you remember it. Now that we've covered the third trick, let's quickly recap everything we've learned so far.
All right, we've shared 3 powerful tricks to help you remember English vocabulary forever. But before we wrap up, we have a bonus hack that will take your learning to the next level. It's called the 24-hour rule, and if you use this, you'll never struggle to recall words again. Now, here's something most English learners don't realize. Your brain decides within 24 hours whether to keep or erase new information. That's why you can learn a word today and completely forget it tomorrow. But the good news? If you review it at the right time, you can lock it into your long-term memory forever. This is exactly how memory champions remember hundreds of words in a short time. And guess what? You can do it too.
Yes, Ryan. And the way to do this is super simple. Whenever you learn a new word, make sure you review it within the first 24 hours. Just take 5 minutes the next day and go over your new words. Then, review them again after a week and once more after a month. This method is called spaced repetition, and it's one of the fastest ways to learn English. Instead of cramming and forgetting, you're letting your brain absorb information naturally over time. This technique is scientifically proven, and it's the same method used in apps like Anki and Memrise for fast and effective learning.
That's such a great point, Priya. And here's another tip to make this even easier. Combine this method with English listening practice. Instead of just looking at your word list, listen to English podcasts, watch movies, or even repeat the words out loud while doing your daily activities. The more ways you engage with a word, the stronger it sticks in your mind. So from now on, make it a habit. Whenever you learn a new word, review it after 24 hours, then again after a week, and then a month later. This one small change can make a huge difference in your fluency.
Exactly. If you've ever felt frustrated about forgetting English words, this trick will change everything. Just follow the 24-hour rule and you'll be amazed at how easily you remember new vocabulary. So, start today. Pick 5 new words. Set reminders to review them at the right time, and see how much better your memory becomes. Now, let's quickly go over all the powerful techniques we've learned today.
Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about something really important: the mistakes that are stopping you from remembering English words. Because let's be honest, learning new vocabulary is only half the battle. If you're making common mistakes, you'll keep forgetting the words no matter how many times you try. So let's go over some of the biggest mistakes English learners make and how to fix them.
Great point, Ryan. And the first mistake is relying on translations instead of learning words in context. If you always translate English words into your native language, your brain never actually learns them in English. Instead, you should learn words directly in English by using examples and situations. For example, instead of just memorizing the word excited, think about a time when you were truly excited. Maybe before a big event or while watching your favorite movie. This way, the word becomes real and personal to you.
That's such a smart strategy. Now, let's talk about mistake number 2, learning too many words at once without practice. A lot of learners try to memorize long lists of vocabulary in one go. But the problem is, if you don't use those words, you'll forget them fast. Instead of trying to learn 50 words a day, focus on 5 to 10 words and actually use them in sentences. Try saying them in your daily English conversations, writing them in a journal, or even using the shadowing technique to repeat them after native speakers.
Absolutely, Ryan. And here's another big mistake: not exposing yourself to real English content. If you only study from textbooks, you're missing out on the natural way English is spoken. The best way to learn vocabulary is by watching Netflix or YouTube videos in English. When you hear words in real-life conversations, you remember them much faster because they come with tone, expressions, and emotions. A great trick is to write down new words while watching and try using them in your own sentences.
That's such a practical tip, Priya. And remember, it's not just about learning, it's about learning the right way. Avoid these mistakes, immerse yourself in English content, and practice consistently. You'll be amazed at how much your vocabulary improves. Now let's do a quick recap of everything we've learned today. So there you have it, 3 powerful tricks to remember English vocabulary forever, plus a bonus hack and some common mistakes to avoid. Now it's your turn. Start applying these methods today and you'll see the difference.
And don't just listen. Take action. Pick one trick and try it right now. Also, let us know in the comments which method works best for you. And if you found this podcast helpful, make sure to follow so you never miss an episode.
Thank you for spending your time with us. We appreciate both our returning listeners and those who are new here. Keep practicing, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next episode of Speak Up.